Hello, beacons of light. Thank you for joining me here where we unbox God and one's destiny and with spirit-led teachings for spiritual entrepreneurs. And so today we'll be talking about more of how that looks like when it comes to following your calling and your mission and what it means to really own your stuff and the struggles behind that as you're hitting walls. And so stay tuned and hopefully you'll be able to watch through the whole process of this video because I'll be explaining different angles of the dynamics and struggles that people go through. And I was talking with one friend, and he was actually just going through some. So, long story short, he was actually in prison for a while, and there's another friend that was going through also of a situation where they just kept hitting walls, similar to this other friend that was in prison, and another friend that was actually going through and in circumstances in life where she was struggling and wondering what was happening in her life, with what was happening with her son and her daughter and so forth. So I'll give you three different examples when it comes to just how that looks like when you are actually struggling in life and you're trying to fulfill that passion that you're being called to, the calling that God has given you, and how that really looks like as you let go and really start to own the things that you need to grow within, is because there's this teaching and study in psychology. There's this angle where you are able to see the struggles that you're going through, is the patterns is within yourself, and it's not the outside environment that's causing that dynamic. It's more within yourself. And so as you are able to really accept where you're at and you recognize it and you understand and label the pattern, you're able to really move to the next stage and go forward and actually make a change and take action. And so this is the examples of these three friends that I have that when they didn't go and acknowledge what they were going through, they continued to hit those walls. And it's basically life trying to mold you. God is trying to mold you into who you need to be as you continue to walk that path, and who you need to become, and so you can actually fulfill that calling that you have been ordained, and fulfill that calling that he's already asked you before birth, before you came down here, which is a contract and actually a covenant that you have with God. And so with the first friend, they were in prison, and so they were going through in life trying to find a job and trying to find a place to live and trying to all these other areas that they have gone, and life kept blocking them, is because of his background. And so he was having a hard time going forward is because of that situation. And so when a person is in that state and um, they do carry a lot of anger. A lot of individuals who have that type of background do carry a lot of anger and have a difficult time going forward and have a difficult time trusting others, and they have a difficult time opening up. And so if you're in that type of situation where you're having a hard time going forward, and it's because of the blockages, because our body is made out of energy, and it's more than just energy. There's this soul with different frequencies that we have, and the DNA within it, and the subatomic cells and whatnot. If they're stagnant, it becomes stuck, and that's how cancer and tumors and body ailments also occur. And so as we go through life and actually start to acknowledge what is going on in the circumstances and really understand it and look at it more from an objective perspective, then you're able to really move to the next chapter. And so the friend that was going through this situation in life, they were having a difficult time on how to really trust others. And so I gently spoke with them and had mentioned about, based on their history with their background and the lineage that they carry, the type of genetics and their nationality. In any country, they have a lot of anger. They present a lot of resentments and whatnot to the formed higher entity, which is the corporations and the governments of this world that have created and landed and based their station in that country. And so in America, the friend had carried a lot of that, and so as my other friends have carried that. And so there's like you can see in protesting and activists, there's this angle where there's a lot of anger that comes out, and so there's that imbalance of individuals protesting and trying to present their story and present their angle and their voice. And it's good to present that, how you feel, but you can do it more in a less aggressive angle of, like, you can still present the message without anger and resentments. So I was talking with a friend and just letting them know that they're hitting all these blocks in life is because they need to own the stuff that the pattern, and really tune in, really pray to God. And what is that pattern that they are not seeing, that where they just keep running through life as if life is not accepting them, because there's that mindset where a person can actually feel as if life is happening to them, or where there's another angle where life is actually working with us and we are actually the ones that are responding into our circumstances that bring out and carry and fly through life, that we are able to dance with life in that angle to really go on and go forward. And so my husband and I were talking, and he and I had formulated this message to him, and it's really on why it's important to own what we need to work on. And I said, in the angle of Christians, because there's a lot of Christians who are hypocritical to and presenting on what they see, but then they don't really walk it. And so I said, you want to know a secret not many Christians know or do. They speak a lot saying, the demon is trying to pull me away from God, because a lot of bad stuff and bad things are happening in my life, which is what you said the other day. And so to fix the problem is to take ownership on the circumstances that happen. What do you need to change in God? It can be very simple, and it can apply to anything in your life. Or it can be a lot of things. But the main thing is that you own it. You own what that pattern is. And so I believe that friend was actually contemplating on that message, because over time, as my husband and I can continue to minister and help him, he was able to transition into a more higher state. But and I did mention to him that he is carrying a lot of anger and there's a lot of resentments, and the trust issues when it comes to going forward, needing to really open up, but there's that healing process that really needs to take place in order for that type of trust to come in and have your heart open and open your heart to somebody that you may not know and really treat that other person like they are actually your brother, your sister. And so there's this angle of how society can function at times where they'll treat you as just another customer or just another client and another person, as if they're just functioning in this robotic way, not really tuning in or slowing down in life, that we are our brothers and sisters keeper, and we are a family in Christ and God, and so we are there for one another, and whatever contract that we have, we are there together as a whole, as a unit, as a family, and we are there to carry on and help that individual to really move to their next stage and their next chapter of who they need to be in their destiny. And so the friend had actually eventually over time, he is currently going through transitioning of awakening to that process, and he does acknowledge and does see that he does need to slow down, and he does see that he needs to really tune into God and really allow God to take over in his life, because a lot of individuals will step into life and take in control as if they are in control of their life, but they really aren't, because they're in this rat race of trying to grab that next big thing and not really slow down, and then they'll end up having an accident, or they'll end up having something in life will block them and a door will close. And so when the door closes, sometimes there's that mind at mischief that starts happening within our own mind and our own psyche, because there's that imbalance of that animalistic part that comes out when we haven't have that type of alignment with God, and lose ourselves in the materialism of life or what others are saying outside of us. And we're not tuning in to what God is saying or what God is leading us to. And because overall it's been ordained and it's been orchestrated in that type of um, scenario for individuals to learn from another and to really work together as a team. They feel as if they're finally allowing God to really work in their life, and they're trusting the process, and they're doing their best to really walk that. And so another friend where they were the same situation, that he he was in the angle of wanting to sue um, the car shop, was it mechanics that were working on his car, and there was some issues with his car. It wasn't as brand new as he bought it, but he was careful with it, and so when he brought it to the car shop, they didn't really fix it. They had actually, according to him, the maintenance guys were actually, they made the situation worse when it came to his car of how it was functioning. Like, say it came there and the brakes wasn't working, and then he realized he needed to buy a new pair of brakes because the one that he had was actually getting closer to the part where it was like being it was already worn out and it had its life. And so besides just the brakes that needed fixing, it was also the lights that weren't working anymore. Like it was working when you brought the car there, but the lights somehow weren't working. And he found out later on that one of the maintenance guys actually accidentally touched the wiring and disconnected some parts, and now his car wasn't working when it comes to having his headlights and then signals, the signal lights, and then the engine. So it's like it piled one thing after the other. And then he was in that process of wanting to sue them and having that process of in his mind. I was telling him he was carrying a lot of anger also, and encouraged them to really look at his situation and how could he have really responded, and how can he take it to the next level of not focusing so much, like redirect his energy from the anger to be more appreciative of the lessons of what he needed to learn, and the direction that God is trying to guide him to. So I was like reminding him somewhat, trying to help him waken up to that process, that it's not about life, how life is happening to us, but it's how we handle life and how we can work with it and how it'll dance and that angle to provide what we need. And so as he was looking at it, so he was just wondering how he's going to sue the company and how he was going to, because he was had confronted the manager and wanted to go higher up and get them to court, and he was already processing in the steps. And so he was like talking about having a lawyer and the process and how that process looks like and so forth, and he went into this whole thing for about an hour. And so I just like gently talked with him and said, you can really focus on this type of energy and redirect it to a better cause, where you can, because on this side, it seems as if you're wasting your time because it's not going anywhere, and you just keep going deeper and deeper into some kind of dark loophole that you can't get out. And so I was just like letting him know, like he can redirect that energy to a better cause, and way to that's more time management for his time, so he doesn't feel as if he's wasting time. And so he was processing that, and he had, because as he was working on that angle of that mindset, he was losing his apartment and he was losing his other car, and so he was just hitting lots of things, and he had gone through like one job after another. And so when he was starting to look at his life and went in the direction of just letting go and allowing God to take him, and really forgive the individuals that actually his messed up his vehicle, I was telling him, that angle of when a door closes, another door will open and it'll be much better. It'll be much better than you realized than the one that you were in. And so he was able to see that. So like I think like a month or so passed. And so when he came back and he communicated about an update about his life, he said that he let go of the situation of trying to sue them. And he soon right after that, like within a week, like a few days or so later, I guess it's more like 4 or 5 days, but it was within a week. He said that he had met somebody, and it was one of his clients that was offering him a car. And the mileage on it was much better. It was like 3 times better. And the payment wasn't as much in comparison to the other car that actually broke. And so the payment was less. And he can do a monthly payment, and so that was a really good deal for him because he was able to get mostly a brand new car also. And the mileage was 3 times better, and the payment was more than half than what he was paying on the other car that broke down. So that was a really good deal for him. And then he was saying that he also was able to find an apartment, and the apartment, that deal was an awesome deal. And and that he was able to get another job and find one that he also liked. And so that was a good way of seeing the transition of what happened with him when it came to his old self, and he brought himself into this higher state where life was able to work with him and guide him in the direction of the people that he needed to meet and the places that he needed to go to have the type of things that were he was lacking in, and that life was providing that for him. And so that was one friend. And so the third friend, she um, it was very similar to the first two friends because she she was like the other two, that she was brought up in a toxic family environment where she was not wanting to be the kind of woman that her mom was, and so she was trying to provide that type of a different angle of a version that she felt was a better one in God, um, and how she was raising her children. And so she was going through life of same similar situation where she wasn't able to see what was happening within of the patterns that she was carrying and the lessons that she needed to learn, and like is more like in all of these three friends is more of an insecurity. So in our overall that insecurity, she was presenting that type of insecurity in her circumstances. She was bring in toxic relationships. The men that she was meeting, they didn't treat her right, and so she ended up not trusting men in general. And so when she had her son come into this situation of finding a relationship, he had carried that type of insecurity in him as well. And so he was somewhat also and grown up without a father, and so he was also orphaned, because she said that she had to like let go of him at some point in her life because she couldn't provide for him, and she wanted him to have a better life, and she felt as if she couldn't provide that. And so as he grew up, he actually carried that type of resentment. And so she carried that type of unhealed part of her also, of not being able to provide and continue that connection with him. And her having 2 or 3 jobs, it was that connection wasn't really there. It was really hard for her. And so as life progressed in her life, she was hitting more blockages and things that were happening. And so the relationship that the son went into, he hadn't realized that the girl that he was dating was underage, and that she was actually a minor. And long story short, the girl played him and said that she was pregnant, and she was a minor, and he went out of state with her. They got stopped by the police patrol, and so anyways, he went to jail, and there's this whole court that went into it. And so long story short, when I was able to talk with the friend, she was able to see that the girl that his son was dating was actually insincere, and that the mother was actually able to see what I was saying about the girlfriend, that she was using him. And so and that she really wasn't pregnant, and that she will be doing the same thing to the next guy by entrapping him with her stories of that type of manipulation. And I was able to see the picture of the girlfriend and discern that she's actually a new soul, and not sorry, old soul, and she's a star seed. And so her age, of course, she was 14, but she looked like she was 18. And it's that type of angle when it comes to our higher genetics as a star seed, and then higher interstellar genetics from other interstellar systems. We're able to obtain type of genetics that make us look older and more wiser. And again, when it comes to star seed, that there are different levels of old souls. Yeah, eventually the son was able to let go of the girlfriend and really see. And so their relationship now, the son and the mother are in good terms, and they're anyways, he's just going through a lot still, but still their relationship is much better now. So just just those are just a few examples when it comes to just not owning our stuff, because she realized, the mother realized, she had a lot of insecurities, and she was letting people into her life that it was more a benefit for her to make her feel good. And those were her words, that I was actually able to recognize that, and she was actually able to move on and really cut ties. And so that's where it's important to know what our patterns are, and our insecurities in God, because all these three friends, everybody carries some types of insecurities in God. And so as we go through life and really acknowledge that type of pattern and recognize it and label it, we're able to move to the next chapter and rise ourselves higher into who uh, God wants us to be. And so we can carry what we need to, and be better examples for our brothers and sisters. And so when it comes to people butting heads, or the competition that happens because of not really understanding the bigger picture, where a lot of Christians may say that they have a relationship with God, but then they don't know how to let go and forgive their brother, because the relationship is completely different, and their angle of how they perceive God is completely different from how the marriage, like my husband and I, have a different relationship with God. Overall, we all go through different types of insecurities, and so the insecurities overall, this video is to present more of how that looks like as we carry those types of insecurities, and how life seems to block us from one angle, and then pause us because we need to contemplate on what we need to go through in life, and contemplate who we are as a soul, and that alignment, and carrying that mission with God, carrying that covenant, and the calling. And even if families or the world may not understand where you're at, just keep carrying on and keep that relationship with God, and continue to pray, and really own what you need to go through, so you can move on and move to the next chapter that you need to, and really pray for your enemies, because we really aren't enemies overall when it comes to the bigger picture. We're all in this together. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. We're all learning and signed up in different contracts that we have. Uh, we're here to learn from one another. So it's best not to cut off ties, or best not to draw a wall and say that they'll always be like that, they'll never change, kind of thing, or trying to change a person because you don't see from their perspective, or you don't see the bigger picture of the actual what happened. The circumstances can be completely different from how you understand it. And so anyways, so overall it's just really learning how to be in God, and to really work work with him, and allow him to work through others, with where they're at. And so, yeah, so hopefully you are able to really see all these different examples of when it comes to just needing to go where you need to go and in your calling, and to continue to have that faith and go forward and know that you are supported by God as long as you come close to Him and acknowledge the things that you need to work through. Life will be able to provide that you need to go through that next. Life will be able to provide what you need to have and when you're ready. And so yeah, so when it comes to the friend that was mother and her son, his insecurity was having to connect with that young lady, and her manipulative ways, and the more of the bombing type of love that she was presenting the son. It was building his ego and his security in life, but that's a negative way of finding one's self and relying on another individual versus just having that connection with God. Because when it comes to really having a balanced angle of bringing yourself and your dignity and self-respect and so forth, of your confidence in life and your connections with others, is that confidence, that our connection with God. And so as you have that type of peace that passes all understanding and really carry that, you're able to really walk through life and really have this type of peace that you go through, and your connections with others will be more peaceful, and you'll be able to really transition in this type of communication etiquette that you'll have with those that you meet. And so overall, we're all in this together, and just know that you're not alone. And yeah, so if any of these stories resonate with you, or you know somebody that is going through some type of struggle in their life and they feel as if they keep hitting walls, or life seems to be hitting them in ways that they can't understand, you can just send this video forward it to them, and just yeah, and share it, and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment below on what types of experiences you've gone through, and really jot down and share, and present what you've gone through when it comes to how it was, and the transition that you took to get there. And so thank you again for joining me here, and talk to you soon in the next video. And I hope you have a great day, great afternoon, and evening, wherever you are. Good night. God bless.